All right, everybody, welcome back to the Introverted Black Mom podcast. Today we have a special guest. We have Steph on here. So before I get into all the professional, let me tell you, Steph to me is hilarious, very entertaining without trying to be. But Steph is a self-proclaimed self-improvement junkie. And she's an expert on impactful journaling. So today, Steph is going to give us some self-care tips and she'll take us on her journey as an introvert. So welcome, Steph.
Thank you so much. Hi, thanks for having me.
Of course, I have been wanting to get you on. First off, I don't even remember how we became these internet friends. I'll tell you from my perspective. If you remember, you chime in. All I know is one day I just got a notification. It was like Journey of an Introvert, which is Steph's IG handle, like tags you in their story. And I was like, wait, what? And then I looked at your page. I'm like, how did I not know that she existed? And then from then on, I watched your stuff. And then you know how everybody on Instagram, they have their broadcast channels. And then I got the invite and I was like, absolutely yes. So then I joined her broadcast channels. So I got to hear from her each day. So do you remember how did we come across each other?
I have absolutely no idea. If you say that that's how you remember meeting me, then I'm gonna go ahead and say that's how we met. Uh, because I don't even know. I feel like when I like somebody's content, I'm like I just want to connect with this person. So that sounds very much on brand that I tagged you in something. Uh, that's no longer my vibe. I don't know why I did that, but I'm glad that I did that and
I
it
am
connected me to you.
Yeah, and it's funny you said that because that it pretty much sums up what the story said. It was just like everybody make sure you like show love to what she's adding in like the introvert community or something. I'm like, what? And I look at your content, I'm like, I don't know how she found me, but I'm glad she did because then I started being able to binge and enjoy your content. But either way, we are here now. We are internet friends now. So
I'm so happy we are.
exactly. So let's hop right into this. So you do impactful journaling. I would love to know about that because I've done journaling, but when you say impactful, I feel like my stuff is just crap now. So please explain to me what I'm doing,
so
not doing.
I'm gonna be honest. I think that when I called myself, I changed the name of my Instagram like all the time.
I noticed.
Like I'm still trying to figure out what exactly to call myself.
Okay.
And so I'm gonna just change it every time it gets more clear, right? So I think that when I called myself impactful journaling, whatever queen or whatever I put there, I think I was throwing a little bit of shade to the people on Etsy and TikTok and Pinterest who have all these like journal prompts and stuff that never really worked for me.
Mm-hmm.
So I've changed it in the last day or two. Um, Now it's just like personal development junkie or something, which to
Yeah.
me it doesn't feel like I'm throwing shade at anyone, which I like it that way.
Yep.
Um,
Love the
so
honesty.
I was just so annoyed because I have all these people. These journal prompts are guaranteed to get you clarity, and it's like none of them were actually working for me.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the long-winded part of why I called myself that. Now to answer your question, what is impactful journaling? So, oh, can you still see me? Sorry, I'm
I
like
can see you're good.
cool. um, so I think when I was saying impactful journaling, in fact, I actually know that when I was saying that, I was looking for a way to get my thoughts onto paper in a way that actually helped me. Because I have a lot of balls up in the air. I have a lot of stuff going on in my life. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't have time or energy to do something that I'm just doing just to check it off and say that I did it, right? I want it to actually help me. And so for me, impactful journaling is not journaling just to tell a coach, oh yeah, I did all the journal prompts that you sent me, or Oh yeah, or like to tell myself that I journaled just for the heck of it. Impactful journaling is actually helpful for me and actually does what it's meant to, which is to clear my head and to get my feelings out onto paper so that I can actually operate in the world as like a functioning human being.
Got you. Can I ask around what time you decided to start doing journaling or what brought you to it?
Yeah, so I've been journaling. Okay, this is an interesting question. Hold on, let me gather my thoughts. Um, so it depends on how you look at it. So I would say I started consciously journaling in a way that was actually helpful over the summer.
Oh,
But I've actually been doing it for 3 years via the internet without even realizing that that's what I was doing. And what I mean by that is my Instagram, the entire thing, Journey of an Introvert, and all the other names that I called it before that, um, was actually a very long winded journal entry with myself. And I thought that I was just like teaching other people stuff, but I was actually just talking to myself the whole time.
oh, nice.
Um,
Introverts are good at that. So that's good. That's perfect. We talk to
exactly.
ourselves all the time.
Exactly.
Nice. So once when you said that you were kind of did it by accident and that you switched a lot or you kind of had to pivot the direction of your Instagram. We're new internet buddies. Out of curiosity, like what was your focus before prior to like Journey of an Introvert? What were you doing? You're laughing. Am I nervous? Okay, I'm nervous about the answer now.
I'm laughing because I it has changed 1,000 times. Um, it started out during COVID as so during COVID I had to cancel my wedding twice. Um, and I just needed something to cope with that situation because it was a lot. I mean, we were 19 days out the first time. Like I already had my
Ooh,
highlights, my teeth were whitened, like I was ready to
yeah.
have a wedding.
Yeah.
Um, I was in shape. The day that we canceled the wedding, was the day that I picked my dress up from the final fitting. So that
Ooh.
was fun. I
Mm.
needed a coping mechanism. So even though I had never been on social media before, it was like not my thing. I was like, I need something to do other than complain to my husband about our wedding being canceled. And
That,
so,
oh my gosh, go on.
yeah, so I started an Instagram and it was intended to keep myself in shape so that I could still fit into my wedding dress whenever the wedding happened.
Got you.
Um, and it went through all these different transformations. But when I go back and I look at all my posts,
Hmm.
I can tie like what I was currently talking about to what I was going through at that time. So what I was like mentally trying to work through. Um, and it's pretty cool now that I have that and now that I realize that. But it's gone through fitness and mental health and emotional health and career development and learning how to have a conversation and learning how to public speak. I literally that Instagram has been through it all. And God bless the people that are still following. Like I don't know how you're doing it because I'm barely hanging on.
That is so, I didn't realize we had that in common. One thing that you said. So I too, during the pandemic, was like, I am losing my mind like everybody else. I'm starting a podcast. Why did I start a podcast when I did not do social media? It was never my thing. So to hear you say, like, prior to that, you weren't really on, I'm like, me either. I'm like a decade late to like getting on social media. And it's like, we have the nerve to form these platforms. So it was like,
Right.
we're either like in it or out of it. We were like dead to social media. And then it's like, then you end up with a platform. So that's interesting. I didn't know that we had that in common. That's funny.
Oh yeah, I think I feel like I've heard so many stories like that, but my friends, I don't know what your experience was, but my friends are like, "You are starting a social media? What?" And then now they're like, I wish she would have never started. Like, I wish she would shut up. Um, but whatever. I'm like, be careful what you wish for, because now I love it.
Yeah, it is. It's so weird. That's so funny because my sister, my husband, and other people that know me are always, they spent all these years trying to get me on social media. And I'm like, I would try, and I'm like, I just don't get it. And for a long time, I'm like, I wish I was one of the cool kids that could get social media. It just couldn't hold my interest. Like, I wasn't like anti social media. I just
Right.
didn't get it. It bored me. And I'm like, what are we, I don't understand this. But now
Right. Like,
I'm
why do you
like,
care so much?
yeah, I didn't get it. And now, like, look at us now.
Look at us now. The joke
So,
was on us all along.
exactly. So, I had another question for you. And
Mhm.
it was, you kind of answered it already. So, it's a good segue. I just wanted to know the story behind your brand. Plot twist, you had plenty brands, but Journey of an Introvert, was that always, I know you talked about fitness, but was introversion always kind of infused with it? Or is this like, what's your focus on now, is what I'm asking.
Um, so like I said, I change the name of my Instagram every time I have an epiphany. Um, so it's like a constant rebrand, but that's my I guess my brand kind of is like I'm just ever evolving. What
No,
was the
that makes
first
sense.
name of it? I'm trying to remember. Oh, Stronger. It was Stronger like Stephanie.
Mm-hmm.
And then it became Stronger like,
Mm-hmm.
and then at some point I figured out that I was an introvert. I actually didn't know I was an introvert until about this
Tell
time
us.
last year.
Ah, okay. Story time. Tell us. How did you find out? How did you feel after you found out? I want all the deets.
So I was trying to figure out my Instagram bio actually. Um, and because I was talking to myself, and at the time I didn't realize it, all my content was for an audience of one, which was Steph. Like, I just thought that I had like an audience of millennials or people that wanted coaching. I did not realize that I was really just trying to walk myself through life. Um, so I was trying to write my Instagram bio, and one of the million coaches that I had hired to help figure out what I was trying to do here was like, "What about introverts?" She's like, "I feel like you're an introvert," and I was like, nobody's ever said that to me, but that kind of makes sense. So, of course, me being me, I went down the rabbit hole, did a ton of research, did all the personality tests, and I'm like, now I understand this giant piece of the puzzle that was previously missing. I had no idea that I was an introvert, but
Mm-hmm.
once I learned that I was like, it was like the biggest like eureka moment ever. Like I walked around for a week looking one of those. I can't talk. I get excited. Um, I looked like one of those cartoon characters with like a light bulb over her head. I was so excited.
So you get like the Oprah aha moment. So
Yeah.
you were excited. And so did everything just make sense to you after that? Like, because you go back and think like childhood moments or the way I
Oh my
reacted
god.
or when I feel tired, it all makes sense.
Absolutely. I was like, what's wrong with me? Like I feel like I've always felt like, I was either too weird or like I don't want to say too cool because cool is not a word that I use to describe myself, but like I just I just never quite fit in anywhere. I was never like nerdy enough. I was never like excited. Like I was just never like one with the crowd. And like once I heard introversion,
Mm-hmm.
like it was like the first community that I actually had people that I fit in with, like that got it, that understood me. Um, and that's not to say like introverts are take on any different or any one personality trait. Like I could go on for days about that, but that's just to say that it's a piece of my personality that I finally understood enough to be able to find a community that I resonated with.
Nice. Nice. What was I about to ask? Oh darn.
I have that effect on people, my bad.
No, no, you're good. It's fine. It'll come back to me because I have like a list of questions here. And for those that usually tune in, you know that I am good at going off on a tangent. I will ramble and I also hop around with the questions. I have them in a certain order, but I just kind of go with the flow. So we're just going to do my usual.
I love that.
We'll go to this. Perfect segue to this question. You mentioned about feeling a part of a community, right? Being an introvert. So I have here, what is one thing that your brand or your community did for you that you didn't expect? So you got journey of an introvert, you have these followers slash community. What did it do for you?
So what did the community do for me?
Yeah, that was unexpected, I should say.
I think so. I used to be such a know-it-all, interestingly enough. Um, and I feel like having the opportunity to like have a community that resonate that like related to me and that shared similar experiences actually made me realize that no, I don't know it all. There's actually so much that I don't know. And so having a community that was like sort of welcoming to me sharing my stories and sharing my experiences, they started to make me ask a lot more questions. And now I'm one of those people that I'm like, I feel like I don't know anything. Like, so
Oh,
it sort of made me able to look at my stories and my experiences in a whole new way, and it just sort of gained perspective that I never in a million years thought that I would gain on my own experiences and on the world around me.
gotcha. So when you say you were a know-it-all, I'm curious, like, I'm like, what was your thought process prior to you realizing you were an introvert with this community? Like, I can't picture that with you. I don't know.
You know, I think I was almost afraid of learning, of like I was such a rule follower, and not anymore, but I was such a rule follower. I always followed the crowd again because I had no grasp on who I really was. I think the introverted part really helped to solidify a lot about who I am. Um, but I played by the rules, I followed the crowd, and I felt like, or I don't even know how I felt. I can't even imagine what my logic was at that point. But I almost felt like if I questioned things, then um, it would sort of put everything into question. And I think I was afraid of that. I was afraid to ask questions because I was scared to know that the way that I was living and the way that I was going about my life was wrong, or not necessarily wrong, but like, I don't, does that make sense?
That makes perfect sense. That makes perfect sense to me. What I'm gathering from what you're saying is with you being a rule follower, right? You getting around other people or letting other opinions in would challenge like your entire existence. And it seems like it would be especially detrimental considering you weren't all that sure of yourself to begin with. That's what I'm
Hmm.
kind of gathering from it.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Oh my
It,
God, I love talking to introverts. They actually understand what it is that I'm trying to say.
yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. I could see that as you were talking about that. I didn't think about that per se. What was my original question? Oh, like what did you learn from your community and how
Hmm.
did being part of an introvert community impacts you? I had never thought about that. I feel like mine is similar. I would say that having an introverted community helps me feel more understood, and it's in turn helping me accept myself even more. It was like
Right.
once I, similar to you, I'm like, what is this introvert? What does this stuff mean? And
Yeah.
then you go down a rabbit hole, as we tend to do. We will research something quick. And then it was like, oh, I'm all right. And then as I started to study it and kind of pick it apart, I'm like, not only am I introvert, I'm kind of dope. It's a lot of good qualities about. I like this
Yeah.
side of things. So
Right.
it helped solidify just kind of like it's all right to be me. And then like, being a part of this community, I think it's helped me just be me.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think something that you said, it helps you feel understood, and I think something that I've learned, like especially being part of the introvert community, but also just like being more like part of communities in all areas of my life, is I feel like everybody kind of feels misunderstood. And something that I've learned in just embracing my introversion and learning how to explore myself is that the more that I understand myself, the more that I take the time to get to know myself and ask these questions and invite other people to give feedback and share their own thoughts. Um, the more that I understand myself, the less that I feel misunderstood by others. Or maybe I just don't care as much if others understand me because I understand myself and that's enough for me.
Okay. We're twinning again. We're at this point where we're getting more and more common. So I don't know. I am when I saw that you updated your Instagram bio, you put self-improvement junkie. I too. I am me, you are me, we are each other.
I love
You
it.
talk about a self-help quiz, book, article, I'm all in for it. I don't know why. I just been that way. I'm very big on introspection, looking within,
Hmm.
trying to improve, acceptance, all that jazz. So when you were talking about not caring about being misunderstood, have you ever done the Myers-Briggs personality test yet? Have you gotten that deep into it? Where
I've
like,
been afraid to. I feel like now I need to because again it goes back to that, like if I ask more questions I'm gonna get more answers and then I'm gonna go down a whole other rabbit hole.
so those that are listening and stuff, I am now challenging you. If you have not, go on, take the Myers-Briggs personality test. So, according to this test, there are about 16 different personality types. So,
Hmm.
even if you consider yourself an introvert, there are like subtypes of introversion. So, me, I've taken this test several times in different parts of my life now, and I discovered I am what's called an INFJ.
Okay.
A little bit about an INFJ, they are actually the rarest personality type. So there's
Okay.
so you talk about being misunderstood as an introvert, then you get deeper into it. And then this subtype of introversion is even more rare. But what I discovered about myself is I had this thing where it's like I don't like to be misunderstood. And nobody
Hmm.
does. But it was like I almost felt like it would consume me where I'm like, no, I really need people to know what I meant. Or what if they think this? And kind of like surface level things about what someone thought about me didn't really phase me too much. But I'm saying all that to say I agree with you. The more that I self-improve myself, I am able to speak to and be accepted by the introverted community, I am noticing more and more that I don't give a damn about
Right.
being misunderstood. So it's like, I'm just like, but you know who you are and what you meant. And I've also accepted that that's just a part of my personality at this point. For whatever
Right.
reason, I happen to, bring misunderstandings of some point. I don't know. Maybe I'm hard to read. I've been told that,
Right.
but it's just a part of it. And I'm like, you will live to see another day if somebody misunderstands you. If you get a chance to just have a conversation with that person, clear it up. But if it doesn't matter, girl, move on. It does not
Oh
matter.
my God, yes.
So it is so freeing So I get what you're saying about like you just are able to breathe more when you just I don't have the energy to care. I don't.
Right.
I
I
don't.
love that.
I
It's
don't.
it's
So
so freeing. I wish I could go back to my younger self and be like, these people like you. The only reason that like you're telling yourself that they don't is because you're having a hard time like liking yourself. Like it's
mhm.
every little thing that I would pick apart about every other person. I was just projecting my own feelings onto them, and it's like that nobody sits around thinking about you. I hate to break it to you if you're listening, but like nobody thinks about
Nobody
sits
cares.
around thinking about you. Do you sit around thinking about me and Shalia? Probably not. I mean, if you do, cool.
Right.
Um, but like nobody is sitting around thinking about you, and the sooner that you can just realize that and just like be okay with what you said, what
Mhm.
you did, like you're a good person, right?
Yes. And that is the wildest part because I'm so glad you said that. Mine was more specifically about I am good for having an argument, replaying an argument or scenario in my head, even if it's not an argument. I
Hmm.
am great at making up a scenario. I am great at talking to myself. I am great at, I should have said this, even if it's not a thing. And I'm like, I will remix every scenario to make it come out right. I was good at that. And I'm like, nobody, nobody remembers this. Nobody remembers it. You
Right.
thought it was cringy. They didn't pay. And it's like, once I was able to like realize that, or when I did that, I'm like, um, now I'm in a season where I'm like making sure I'm practicing grace with people. I'm very
Okay.
this word has been like, I want to say like the last 7 months. I'm like, I want to be actively practicing grace, right?
I
So
like
I'm like,
that.
the same grace I give to other people, when people make like whatever random mishap or like funny thing, I never think about it again. Friends, family members, neighbors, whomever. So I'm like, so why are you such a stickler for yourself? So I'm like,
Yeah.
if I treat myself the way that I would treat a friend, I would be great. And I had to call myself out on that plenty of times. I'm still working
Right.
through it. I got better, but there are some days that, we're our biggest critics. And I'm like, you would
Right.
never say this to a friend, let alone think this about a friend. So why would you do that to yourself? So now
Oh
that
my
I'm
God.
like
Yeah.
treating myself better and just being like literally saying to myself, when I get in that moment, I'm like, Shalia, I forgive you for all the times you didn't know, stuff like that. Or I
Yeah.
forgive you
I
for the
love
time,
that.
like you don't know what you don't know. So now I'm like able to have fun and laugh with it. And I am impressed by myself for like letting things go. But back to
I
you.
love that. Oh my
Yes.
God. You're giving me homework. Now I need to practice grace with
But
myself.
back to when you were talking about impactful journaling, I do like that you use the word impactful. Have you ever gotten into shadow work? Shadow work journaling?
So I think, I do everything by accident.
Mm-hmm.
um, so I think that that's what I was doing this summer.
Okay.
Um, so I think you said you were in my broadcast channel, right? When I was
Mm-hmm.
like, when I had I was going through a very emotional period.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I was accidentally doing shadow work without even knowing it. Now, have I done it consciously? No, because it was difficult enough when it was an accident. Um, I came out the other side with a much stronger hold on my emotions.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel that the next era, so I like kind of break my journals into eras. So I had like the kind of emotional and energetic come to Jesus moment over the summer. Um, and I have a feeling I'm gonna consciously go back to that same sort of style of journaling, of just like brain dumping, but I want to do conscious shadow work. Now that I know that that's what I was doing. It was
Yeah.
very hard to do when I didn't know what the heck was going on. I was just crying all the time. It was
Yeah.
it was rough.
So And you can answer this as detailed as you would like to. You've mentioned about like going through like a rough time. You don't have to get into that rough time, but it's like,
Mm-hmm.
how would you describe your emotions while going through this rough time compared to now, or the journey of journaling? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm interested in journaling, and I think that there are a lot of listeners and viewers who will be interested in just knowing, like, I'm trying to lead to any like tips and pointers and just like getting into the
Mm-hmm.
benefits that you've experienced with journaling.
Absolutely. So before I started that, I think that period of journaling, of that, like that really emotional, like just dump,
Mm-hmm.
was probably one of the most important periods of my life to date. Um, I had never. I was. I'm an analyst as my career,
Gotcha.
and I have a very masculine energy about me, or I did before this summer, because I my brain was my safe space, right? My brain had always gotten me super far in life. Like I knew that I could rely on my thoughts and my analytical abilities to get me through whatever problem. So I always hid from my emotions. I had no relationship with my emotions at all. And so over the summer, and probably for a little bit longer, but over the summer, I really started to focus on getting my emotions, like, or getting in tune with my emotions. Um, before before I got conscious of that, anytime anything bad happened or anything upsetting, I would fly off the handle. I would get so angry, or I would just like mentally spiral. And I just couldn't handle being upset or angry or frustrated. And so when I started to consciously just sit with my emotions and let myself actually feel them, and let myself ask, like, okay, why am I feeling this way, and let myself hold space for my emotions without trying to dismiss them or make them go away or shove them down, that's when I was able to move through them. And now whenever I get upset or angry or hurt or sad, I don't immediately dismiss them as silly, or I don't try to make them go away. I'm able to hold space for them. And rather than letting a bad mood when I wake up in the morning become an entire week or an entire month of just having a bunch of bad days, now I'm able to keep my bad mood to like an hour or two. And I hope over time that I can get my bad moods to last even shorter. But just allowing myself to confront my feelings instead of shoving them down or ignoring them or going absolutely crazy was probably the biggest takeaway.
Nice. That's really powerful.
Yeah,
Follow-up question.
wild.
Why do you think you were suppressing or not being in touch with your emotions?
I think they scared me. Um, I just think I was so, because I always like to come off as like that happy, funny, silly, like goofball, because I know that that's who I am, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, and but I had to go through this period to realize, like, two things can be true at once, right? I can be generally a happy, silly, quirky little weirdo just doing my thing, but I can also have my bad moods. I'm a human.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's your bad moods don't define who you are as a person. You're just It would be unrealistic to say that as a human being I never have my off days or my off
Right.
mornings. Um, and I had to reconcile the two. And I think that I shoved them down in hindsight, or I avoided them, because I thought that if I acknowledged that I was having a bad day, then suddenly people would see that, like, I wasn't that happy. But all it was doing was perpetuating them, because if you're getting in a bad mood or you're getting really triggered by something, it's an unresolved issue and it's not going to go away until you deal with it.
Right. You know, I really enjoy your transparency. I
Oh,
do.
I don't know how to lie, so it's a blessing and a curse.
I do. I'm like, we could get really deep with these conversations.
Oh yeah.
I'll move on. Um, what would you tell? Because you're like a newbie introvert or newly discovered. So what would
Mm-hmm.
you tell your younger self about being introverted?
That it's not a bad thing. Like it's not like I don't know if I thought about introversion. I just, like I said, I
Right.
didn't know that I was. I think I probably thought that introverts were like antisocial and like quiet, and I don't know, and I was like not really that. I was awkward,
Okay.
and I was like super like, but I don't even think that it's fair to say that introverts are awkward, right? Because I am an introvert and I'm not really that awkward. um, but I think I believed all of the societal stereotypes about introverts. And I guess I wish I could tell my younger self that like none of them have to be true. Like you can be your own brand of introvert.
I like that. You can be your
That was
own brand of
genius.
introvert.
Damn, did I just say that? Should I
You
trademark that?
you should trademark that. Sounds like some merch to me. I
For
like that.
my
I'm like, oh.
podcast, yeah.
What's something people misunderstand about you?
What is something people? I think people. Oh, that's a good question. I'm pretty sure that when I answered all of these questions, by the way, on the sheet that you sent me before
Mhm.
to like prep,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I gave you completely different answers, but I'm just going with whatever's coming out of my mouth.
That's fine.
Um, So something people misunderstand about me is I come off as being very hard on myself sometimes, and it's because I'm not the best articulator. Believe it or not, I really just don't see myself as like an orator, which is pretty
Okay.
odd because I love going on podcasts and I'm starting my own.
Yes,
Um,
we'll talk about
but
that.
but I don't consider myself this like incredible orator, and it's because I spent my whole life thinking that my voice didn't matter.
Mhm.
um Now I know it does, but anyway, I digress. um so people think that I'm incredibly hard on myself. It's not that I'm hard on myself, it's that I can see it. I can literally visualize like where I'm going to go in this world. Like I can see that I meant like for all these things. And if I'm not holding myself accountable and I'm not pushing myself to be the best version of myself that I can, then who's going to? And so what happens is that because I'm not the best orator and I don't always know how to articulate how I'm feeling, it comes off like I'm very critical of myself. It's just that I don't have the right words to just like to say what is on my brain and how I need to shift. I'm like, I don't know. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, actually. That makes a lot of sense. So do you find people are like, oh, Steph, don't do like consoling you or being really sympathetic with you?
Yeah. I'm
I'm
like,
all
I
right.
don't need your sympathy. I'm like, I'm just trying to hold myself accountable. I'm telling you out loud what I think, but I don't have the right words for it.
Yeah. And they're like, oh my goodness, don't beat yourself up. Oh,
Yeah, I'm literally not. Like it is like my brain is sunshine and rainbows these days. Like I am not beating myself up. I just don't have the right words to express where it is that I'm trying to go.
got you. I want to talk to you a bit more about self care. So
Okay.
I know that you find it really important self-care and the importance of slowing down. So I wanted to talk to you a bit about that. Like, what's your experience been? How do you feel about slowing down? Why do we all need to do it?
So I have experienced chronic burnout more than once.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it has been absolutely detrimental to my mental health. Um, it has, it's definitely made me shut down a lot. So like when you're experiencing burnout, I don't know if you've ever experienced this, Shalia, but it takes up your whole life. It's so hard to like get yourself to do anything. And so I'm constantly, now that I'm conscious of it and I'm aware that I'm prone to burning out, it's very important for me to be proactive rather than reactive, because once you start to enter that burnout period, it's like a runaway train. It's very hard to reel yourself back in. Um, and so, what was I going to say? I don't ever want to get into a chronic burnout period again. Um, because it made it hard to do anything. I gained so much weight. It made work really hard. It made just showing up at social events really hard. So I don't want to do that to myself ever again. Um, but for me, one of the best ways to slow down is to ask myself, like, what things on my list are just on my list because I feel like they need to be versus things that actually need to get done. And when you can take like a really objective view and like be honest with yourself about what is actually a priority, you'll find that most of the stuff on your list is not that important. Most of it can wait. And now I have a rule that if I have avoided something for more than 3 months, I look at it and I say, is this actually something that I need to do? Or can I delete it? And if like it makes me really question all the things that I commit myself to. So if something hasn't gotten done for 3 months, uh, it's either not getting done or I'm gonna take a good look at it and figure out how I can shift it so that I'm able to accomplish it.
That's good. I really like that you have a system too, where you're like 3 month mark, because it could be, I think it's one thing to say it and acknowledge your feeling. That's part of it. You should. But then I do like the system because it's like you can actually put it into practice. That makes a lot
Yeah,
of sense. Yeah. What kind of things would you say causes you to be burnt out?
taking on way too much.
Gotcha.
I'm like, I'm the yes girl. I'm like, oh,
Okay.
Facebook community. Okay. Start a podcast. Okay. Start uh, journaling, coaching business. Okay. Sounds like everything sounds so good. And like, I just want to try all of it. But like, not everything in this world that I'm meant to do right now. And I think that I just get so excited that I take it all on. And then I realize, okay, like slow your roll. Like, when it's time, the opportunity will come. But I
Yeah.
take on way too much all at once.
Plot twist, Steph and Shalia self-care network is what we need. Yet another thing we
Yeah.
have in
Oh
common.
God, don't add something to. Just kidding. Well, it'll happen at some
The
point.
only reason I say that is because I too am what they call a multi-passionate. Can you
Yeah.
relate to that?
I
And
feel like I'm passionate about everything. It's so annoying.
yes. And so I used to be really down on myself about that.
Hmm.
Especially because there's that saying, jack of all trades, master of none.
Oh
And
my God, I resonate with that.
yeah, so I for a long time had a bunch of interests. And I would say a couple things I'm probably at least okay enough at, good at, and definitely passionate or interested about. And for a very long time, I didn't speak openly about it or talk about it because that saying would be in the back of my mind. And I'm like, what will people say if they know that I like this thing, this thing, this thing, this thing? I want to try this thing and do this thing. They'll think I'm like unfocused or she's not serious or she doesn't know how to lay down her roots or whatever other little saying.
Yeah.
So I thought about that when you said earlier about your Instagram bio and like your focus changing. So until up until a few years ago when I heard that term, I used to think like as I got older, I'm like, wait a minute, like that everybody just knows what they want to be and they just stick to that. And I used to just be like, where's a representation for like, what if you are a person who's actually like good at a lot of things? Like, why do you just have to pick one? So I feel you on that. And I'm in that same season where it's like, just because you're passionate and want to do all these things doesn't mean you have to do it right now. But
Right.
there are a lot of things that I want to do. And like, to be honest with you, I almost shifted from like podcasting, like
Oh no.
I was like, and it's come across my mind. I'm like, oh, let me do so and so. Yeah, I better stop this and start this thing up because I won't have enough time or I'll be all over the place. And it's so crazy because almost each time I thought about it, one, I've never thought about stopping because I didn't enjoy it. That would be a lie. I really enjoy doing this. It was just like, oh, I have like the attention span of a squirrel or something when it comes to like everything I'm interested. I'm like, oh, this and this. But every time that I think I want to stop, something happens where it is like, oh, such and such magazine, they're reaching out. We would like to do a feature. I'm like, what? Or so and so reaches out and is like, hey, can I come on? Or whatever this thing is. Whereas like I get thrown back or I get like some random DM or email from a supporter of the podcast, like, hey, I really enjoyed the so and so. What about this topic? And I'm like, how could I possibly leave this community of people that similar to you, where you talk about your Instagram just kind of being like your journal. I'm like, getting on here and podcasting is therapeutic for me too. So
Yeah.
I really enjoy it, meeting with people like you, talking to myself. All I do is just put a microphone on and I just blabber. And
I
people
love it.
somehow enjoy listening to me and I then get feedback. So I'm like, I like it, but we're multi-passionate and we should be proud. As I'm saying all that
Absolutely.
to say. But you're right.
Absolutely.
Take our time and just try to you know that we will get a chance to do all the things. Just
Mm-hmm.
don't burn yourself out. And that's what happened. Those times where I felt like I was like, oh, I got to stop doing this or put on the back burners because I was trying to commit to too many other things. And
Right.
here's another layer to that I realized. It wasn't so much that I was being burnt out because I was doing too much. My burnout comes from doing too little, if that makes sense.
Oh, okay. So,
Meaning,
okay. I get it.
yeah, with the podcast, right? It's like I had these ideas and I had this potential, and then whatever thing holds me back or I get distracted. So I'll get in a season of like I gotta pivot, not because I really need to, but because if I'm not living up to my full list potential or stretching myself within podcasting or this introvert
Mm-hmm.
brand. So I'm like, you're not burned. I'm burned out because I feel like I'm doing the same thing over again. But it's not because
Right.
again, as I'm in my comfort zone. But when I step out
Okay.
of it, then I get the passion again. So I'm like, it's really on me. It's because I'm not
Right.
living up to, full potential. But
I totally get it. You know,
yeah.
as you were talking, I was kind of thinking like one of the ways that like I found myself in podcasting and like deciding, okay, this is the thing that I need to do is I asked myself like in all the different business attempts that I've tried to do, which there are many. I can't we do not have enough time to list them all. Um what is the one thing that like I like to do, right? Like what is like the through line and like the reason that I can't stop doing what I'm doing. And it always comes back to I like to talk to myself and I like to get feedback from people to know if I'm sort of on the right path or if I should
Yeah.
redirect or look at things a different way. And so, whether I was coaching or trying to do content creation or um, trying to have like a membership or running like a Facebook group, like all the things, everything always comes back to I want to share what I really think and I want to get instant feedback from the internet. And so podcasting seems to me to be like the right route. So I think the best way to like ask yourself if you're really doing what you're meant to be doing. It just go back to the root. Like, what are
Yeah.
you getting out of it? And is that what you like?
I wish I had my book right now because I would hold it up and I had the same experience. And do you know how I came to the conclusion on what to do? I
How?
freaking journaled.
Yeah,
In my
exactly.
journal, I I called my sister and I asked my husband, what things am I good at? What things am I passionate about? He told me a bunch of things, she told me a bunch of things. I wrote down a bunch of things. And there was like an overlapping or like an overarching theme. And
Oh, I should
so
do that. I like that.
yeah, I just did it and I'm like trying to be purposeful about something. I'm like, let me just ask these questions. And
Hmm.
it really does boil down to I'm like, what are just my just innate strengths? What did I not have to go to school for? Whatever, like what is your core thing? And again, it's similar to you. Um, I do like talking to myself. I do it all the time. So I'm like, just put a microphone on and do it and try to organize it
Right.
a bit better if you can. But I like talking to myself. I enjoy deep conversations that make me think. So
Yeah.
oftentimes when I'm trying to like brainstorm, like I'll call my sister whose nerves I work, I'm sure. And then I'm like, hey, I need some feedback on X, Y, and Z. And then I just like, oh, I solved it. But it's different sometimes with me hearing it in my head than when I say it out loud. Once I say it out
Exactly.
loud, it's like, oh, now I know the plan. So before having podcasting to just get it out there, I would just have it up here and sometimes her.
Yeah.
But I definitely feel you with what you said as it relates to get into the basics. Like it makes sense. I would encourage
Absolutely.
anybody to do that because I still have things on my list as far as like businesses and things I want to start. But something that's probably why I can't get away from podcasting because it's natural.
It's your core. Yeah, it's your core interest. And I
Yeah.
think, like, for anybody who's not even willing or not ready to put it out there in a podcast, like, maybe just try. So I downloaded, do you have the Voxer app?
No, tell me about it.
Um, it's like a walkie-talkie app, and you can walkie-talkie yourself. So
Okay.
so, so sometimes when I don't feel like being glued to my phone screen, I just sit and talk to myself into the Voxer app. Uh, and it's great because then I can walk around looking like I'm on the phone, but I'm just talking to myself.
Another
Um,
hat. Got you.
oh, it's great. Oh my God. I walk around on the sidewalk laughing, talking. I have a full blown conversation with me, myself, and nobody looks at me like I'm crazy.
Good. You gotta tell me I gotta link that into the show notes so people can check it out. I'm gonna look at it. I need that app.
It's only $3 a month. It's like the best money I've ever spent.
Oh, nice. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Okay. It's a couple more things I wanted to pick your brain about. But before I go to this,
Hmm.
so I know that on today you announced something on your social media. You already hinted at it, but you'll be starting something on October 17th. Could you tell us about it?
Yeah. So we are starting the who's we? So my friend Jay and I, who Shalia knows, I think
Yes,
he
and has
actually
been on the
may.
podcast twice.
Yeah, he's awesome. He is the founder of the so sincerely an introvert clothing brand. Go
Mhm.
check him out. He's so awesome. He's a lot less long winded than I am. Which is why we're going to be a great duo for our podcast. He's going to keep me on task, hopefully, or on subject. Um, but we are starting a podcast called the Stay Introverted Podcast, and it's all about just celebrating our introversion and just kind of leaning into it, breaking the myth or busting the myths, talking about the stereotypes, just talking about life as an introvert, what introversion means to us. Like It is not by any means an advice podcast, although we may have some advice segments. We'll bring guests on and stuff. But it's really just to redefine what introversion means, and to encourage people to tell their own introverted story and be their own brand of introvert.
Ah, yeah. See, I see what you did there. Be their own brand.
I plugged it.
You got to make that a tagline for the podcast.
Oh, it's gonna be.
But
See,
yeah,
I'm journaling. I'm journaling here,
there
right
you
here and
go.
now.
There
Yeah.
you go. Talking out loud to yourself, just being recorded. You'll be able to watch this and you'll get all the ideas will come back. But I everybody out in listener land and also watching, because you know we are on YouTube now. Shameless plug. So I have been so excited for Steph and Jay to start this podcast. I think I knew about it about a month or so ago.
Yeah, you're our mentor.
Right. I am the faux mentor of the podcast. No, but we worked we all met up and we just kind of shared resources and things. So I was really excited and I'm rooting for them. And so once they get things established, we have to have them both on this podcast so that we can just talk about how things go, promote and get it out there. And like Steph said, definitely check out the podcast coming up and Jay's clothing brand. Also, if you want to go back and listen to one of his episodes, it is called Sincerely an Introvert. Funny fact, real quick, I didn't even tell Jay. When I look at my analytics, Jay's episode is one of my top 10 episodes.
Wow.
He's actually within the top 5 of my episodes. His
well,
one.
He's got a huge brand. So I mean, when he agreed to podcast with little old me, I was like, really? Me?
I was happy when he came back on too. And don't get me started, Steph. Steph is being humble. Steph, would you tell everybody where I caught you on your social media? Hanging out at iHeartRadio just the other day. And I was like, we had it scheduled. And I think I saw the post either yesterday or 2 days ago. And I'm like, we are 2 days out from Steph coming on to this podcast. I cannot compete with an iHeart podcast. So
no, I don't want you to.
How'd you get there?
So this is an interesting story. So I feel like all my stories are interesting, or maybe they're not. Maybe I just think they are. So I had somebody reach out to me over the summer when I was kind of taking a little social media break, and I say that in quotes because I was the worst person at taking a social media break. I was like, every other day, I was like, hi, I'm not back. But I just have one thing I want to share. So while I was taking my break, I had somebody reach out to me and ask me to do a journaling workshop in person.
Nice.
So it's like, okay, cool. So I decided to do it in person. It was my first ever in-person event. And I must have mentioned to this guy at some point in one of our prior conversations. He's awesome, by the way, if you guys want, are in the New York City area, Tavern Community. I will be doing more of them. Anyway, I must have told him at some point that my dad is a marketing guy at iHeart. And so when we were promoting my journaling event, this guy, Ben, who runs Tavern Community, said, why don't you see if your dad can throw in like a giveaway or a prize for people that come to your event? So I asked my dad, kind of thinking like, he's not going to be able to come up with anything. He said, why don't you give away a tour of iHeart and a spot on this podcast that I work with, or this radio show that I work with? So I'm like, okay. So we make that the prize. This really cool girl, Vanessa, wins the tour and the radio spot, but she was too nervous to do the tour and the radio spot by herself. So she asked me if I would come with her.
Oh.
And so it was just this crazy, like, perfect storm. And and it all kind of just it came together that way. And yeah, but to be honest, I was out of my element. I was like a fish out of water yesterday. It was a really cool experience because the host who had me then is like such a great, like I aspire to be just like her one day. She's got a massive following, but it was very like regimented. So it wasn't as flowy as this is here. Like it was very much an interview, you
Gotcha.
know? And I'm not used to that. So the questions were very long, but it was fun. I had a great time, and
Okay.
I hope that Zen will invite me back, or that I'll get to go back on radio again because I got the first chance out of the way, and now I think I could do it again.
Oh, that's fun. I was like, that was amazing. I was like, wait, what? I thought, okay, I'll ask her when she gets here. But that was fun. I was excited for you. I'm like, I don't know what this is, but I'll hear more about it. So
Oh
that's
yeah, it was so cool. It was such an honor. And like maybe one day I'll look back and be like, oh, that was cute. Like that was such a fun little experience.
that
But
was cute. See, when you start your podcast, you'll get all used to it and like, oh, that was cute when I did that. Yeah, my following is massive too. That was cute back then. Oh, here's what I wanted to ask you, and I know we'll be closing out. So I got a couple more things I want to ask you.
okay.
We were talking about you taking your faux social media break. So that leads me into how do you manage being an introverted um business owner, platform holder, public figure-esque person? How do you do it? How does that feel?
Okay, so that's actually a great question. Sorry, I'm trying to plug in my iPad so it doesn't die on us.
You
Hold
are
on.
good. Take your time.
Uh-oh.
It's
Can you
okay.
still hear me?
I can still hear you. Don't worry.
Okay. Whoop. Tech is not my strong suit, so like plugging things in is like a hard thing. um, so okay. So how do I manage social media? So that's a great question. I used to not. I used to, and by not managing it, I mean it consumed my entire life because it was so challenging for me.
Yeah.
Um, and I just overthought everything. Like everything in Canva had to be so perfect and so rigid, and everything was so structured. And honestly, now that I'm just kind of I'm not following any rules. And so, as an introvert, I'm not saying like, share your deepest, darkest secrets all over the internet. But what I am saying is just trust that whatever you want to say, exactly how you say it, exactly how you would say it to your best friend, is fine. It's social media, social being the key word. And so if you can text your best friend your caption or like whatever you're gonna say in a video or like just a couple bullet points, then it's good enough to share on social media. People relate more when they feel like you're not being like robotic and
Mm-hmm.
like too structured. So I think that the way that I'm managing it now and the way that is actually finally resonating with people is I'm just literally I'm copying and pasting from my journal. I'm not sharing all my journal entries because I don't want to scare everyone. Um, but I'm just taking my journal exactly as I wrote it, or I'm taking something I texted my husband exactly
Yeah.
as I wrote it, or my best friend, throwing in a couple emojis that are like my go-to emojis, and I'm letting it be fine. And I don't really try that hard.
Nice. I was asking for several reasons. One, audience. Two, for me. I was asking that because both of us, we have similar goals and things we're doing. So I'm like, how is everybody else doing it? But I agree with you. I think that if I couldn't come on and just be like, this is me, it would just get too overwhelming. And as far as like taking a social media break, I do that sometimes to my detriment. And so now I'm getting to a place where like the overthinking, probably queen of that
Yeah.
committee.
Oh no,
But
that's my title. You can't take that.
okay, I'll be the princess of it then. We're the royalty, the overthinking royal family is what we are here. But you are so right, because I think about pieces of content like for a while. I'm like, I just was on TikTok more than Instagram, and it was a lot about what you said. For me, TikTok felt like I just got on there and talked, and people resonated with that. When I
Right.
got on Instagram, it was an Instagram aesthetic that I was like, I don't know that I can pull this off. And then with us both being really similar with like, I'm not used to social media in general, so it could be a bit intimidating for me where I'm like, wait, what? And then
Right.
like being like a personal brand on social media, I'm also like, oh, well, they did it this way. And I'm like, it would take me so long because I was trying to be me inside of a box that somebody else made. But once I just started like
Exactly.
having fun with it, and then some of my content that has done super well was just me, just like I'll think of something and I got to get the app that you suggested, but I'll just go right in my phone and do the notes app, and it'll be whatever thought, and I'll just type it in, and then when I'm ready to record, whenever that is, I'll record it and just upload it. But that's easy,
Right.
and I get the most engagement and things with stuff. I'm like, you don't have to overthink it. So
Right.
I'm still like doing that, and now I'm just trying to be more proactive about when I want to take a break, that I like pre-schedule my content as best as I can.
Okay.
At least the ones that make sense to do, like certain posts. Things where I'm talking,
Right.
I feel like I won't do that too much because I just like for it to just be like when I feel it, I just say it and put it up.
Right.
But like I do need to account for when I get out of the mood or busy or something else, that
Right.
the community isn't left with like, where the hell did she go? Because I think about that too. I'm like, oh man, like nobody wants to be kind of like left hanging, and like I don't
Exactly.
mean to do it, but I'm like, I'm just
You're
so
out living. Yeah.
yeah, I'm out living, hibernating, introverting, all those things.
Right.
So yeah, I gotta get better with
So So one thing I did, because you mentioned the aesthetic,
it.
and like I'm like a crazy person with my aesthetic. Like I still, even though I don't want to follow rules, like I do want it to look pretty. So
Yeah.
I was like, how do I reconcile the two issues?
Mm-hmm.
How do I make it look pretty while also like not following any rules?
Mm-hmm.
So now what I've just been doing is I have a color coding system.
Mm-hmm.
um, so when I share like a fun, like whimsical life moment, I just don't really do a cover. Maybe I'll put like a word to show what it's about.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but then like when I have like a white post, it'll be like just a quote, like something like "Be your own brand of introvert." That might be my
There you
next white
go. That's your
post.
next one.
Um, so something like just like kind of like quick. And then when I have like when I want to share like a perspective or like a point of view or just a new way of looking at things, I make it like a blue and green tie dye. And then when I want to ask a question, I make it a blue and purple tie dye. So I have like an order.
Oh no, that's a
Um,
good idea.
and it sounds crazy, but it comes out looking really pretty.
Mm-hmm.
And it also allows me to just feel free to share one of those things and have it follow a certain structure of like what it's going to look like on the grid.
No, that makes a lot of sense to me. I'm doing something similar, not as well thought out as you. So thank you. I'm like pulling up my Instagram grid now where I'm like, I definitely have like theme colors I try to stick to. And then there are certain things like when I ask a question or whatever, I do like a not tie-dye, but the word is escaping me, but a multicolored something. Then when I'm doing
Okay.
quotes, it's like a Tiffany blue background. Then if I'm doing like whatever else, it's pink. So I did that
Right.
accidentally, just not as focused, but I should focus it a little better. But I do just have a color scheme that I saved in Canva, like the brand kit.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my God. Lifesaver.
Yeah, I just make their brand kit where I'm like, and I already had templates made up where I'm like, if I'm promoting an episode with a solo episode, here are the ones I choose from. If I'm doing it with two people, here are the other templates I choose from. So I have some sort of system, but that's another good idea that I should use because I'm looking at it and I like when it looks cute too. I just don't want it to take up all my time. But
Oh
yes,
yeah.
I
I
do
just
have.
I make my templates in IG stories.
Oh,
So
nice. Okay,
yeah.
got
So
you.
just quick, like I have the little like gradient mesh gradient that I made. I
Mm-hmm.
put it in the IG story to type in a word and good to go.
Oh, very nice. Um, oh, before we go off on more tangents, I
Mhm.
wanted to ask you for closing out.
Mhm.
One, get ready to share all your social medias, anywhere people can find you, any courses, classes, whatever you got coming up, groups we can join. And my
Mhm.
last question, let me pull it up. I wanted to know what makes you feel inspired or like your best self?
What makes you feel inspired or like your best self? I think knowing that the more that I get to know myself, the better my life gets. And knowing that no matter where I'm at in life, if I just tap back into myself, um, and come back to my core values and live by them, then my life will always continue getting better.
Gotcha. Thank you for sharing. All right, so now I want you to leave us with anything else as far as how to find you, connect with you, listen to you talk to yourself. Where can we find you?
Okay, so I only am on Instagram and Threads right now.
Okay.
Um, so at Journey of an Introvert and at Journey of an Introvert for both. Um, so Threads, I'm like unhinged, like completely like it to me it's like Twitter
Mm-hmm.
but with a nicer audience. Um, and so I just like whatever thoughts and whatever I'm having throughout the day, it is my random ass like little tidbits diary of sorts. And it's so much fun. Instagram is a little bit less unhinged, although not much. Um, so you can find me there. And then if you're crazy enough, if you somehow have not gotten enough of me,
They have not.
head on
Please
over to
Lord.
my broadcast channel. And that's where I share my actual journal entries, unedited, uncensored. Like, I probably share in there once or twice a week.
Mm-hmm.
And you can find that linked in my profile and it is just I copy and paste straight from my journal, and it is what it is. um, so that's where you can find me, and then of course we do have the Stay Introverted podcast coming out October 17th.
Mm-hmm.
That'll be wherever you get your podcasts, and I'll be sharing more about that on Threads and Instagram.
Nice, nice. And I think you mentioned it earlier. I want them to hear it again. If you were in the New York area, you were going to do more in person.
Oh yeah, see, I'm so bad at plugging myself. Um, I just forget. So again, that'll be on Journey of an Introvert. I had a TikTok, I had a YouTube, I had a Facebook community, which I just shut down today actually because I just wasn't feeling it. Um,
Okay.
uh, I could go off on so many tangents. But stay tuned on Journey of an Introvert on Instagram and Threads. And when I have more in person events coming up, I'll let you guys know. I think the next one's going to be in October. That one's going to be a Penn State themed in person networking event. So I'm a Penn Stater, Nittany Lion. Um, and that one will be for Penn State, but I'm going to be having other ones like possibly a podcasters meetup for people in New York City. Whole bunch of cool ones in the works.
Nice. All right. Thank you, Steph, for sharing. We appreciate you coming on. You will come back on. We will see
Oh
you
yeah,
soon
and
enough.
you'll have to come on mine.
Oh, yes, I'm there. I'm already there. I schedule myself whether you or Jay like it or not, I'm on it. And you'll come back on once you get settled with your stuff. And then also keep us tuned if you do any virtual events. We definitely want to show up for that too, if you're still doing.
Okay.
And I think that is it. Anything else you want to say to folks?
Oh yeah, yeah. One more thing, and then my husband's giving me the death stare right now, so I gotta hop. But but if anybody is interested in learning how to impactfully journal, I did do a live stream on Instagram the other day. I think it's called How I Journal. Like it's very, very straightforward. So if you just go on my Instagram feed, it's right up. I think I'm gonna pin it to the top because a lot of people liked it. But it's literally everything that you need to know about how I go about journaling in the most impactful, simple, effective way possible. So check that out.
Got you. Thank you. All right, everybody out there, I thank you for listening. And remember, it's not about being the loudest person in the room, it's about having something important to say. I will talk to you next time. Bye bye.